Hello, BookTube. I've got a tiny bit of mail here, but we're feeling cocky. We've done mail haul after mail haul without a problem. I've done mail haul after mail haul without needing to delete the video. So we'll give this a try. We have 2 periodicals and 2 packages. We should be able to get through that without the UN needing to be involved. The first periodical is almost worthless. I don't think I'm paying for the subscription anymore. I think it's just whiling out its time. And that is GQ. Once upon a time, there was stuff in GQ that I could at least read with interest. That hasn't happened in quite some time. And this issue had a funny thing. I mean, it's sad in a way because I know who it's aimed at. I know who the target demographic of this magazine is, and that's overfinanced men, young men between the ages of 18 and 25, maybe 30, who literally have more money than they know what to do with, or who dream of having more money than they know what to do with. And you're never going to go broke giving that demographic dumb advice. And that's what GQ does here. What is this article called? 31 Secrets to Unlocking Your Creativity. 33 of our favorite artists, writers, musicians, designers, and big thinkers share the mysterious rituals and dirty tricks behind their greatest work. And it's interrupted with a page of ads, including one for healthy vaping. It looks really healthy, doesn't it? But then it goes on, and the advice, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The first item is just try. The second item, they don't even wait to contradict it. The second item is don't try too hard. One is do your research. The other is follow your gut. These rules explicitly contradict each other left, right, and center. And yet, there will be young men who get this issue and think, boy, I got a lot of good advice from this issue, which further reinforces my decision to write a self-help book for that demographic myself. I'm thinking maybe, inspired by my video yesterday, I'm thinking maybe of calling it 23 for 23. 23 in 23. And I can just do a different advice book every year. 23 rules or commandments or orders or precepts. I'd have to come up with what I want to call them. Commandment sounds appropriately biblical. 23 precepts, not 31, but 23 that, unlike GQs, are not junk. They're not dumb. They actually are something you could think about and use. I might do something like that. And then self-publish it on Amazon for $1, as all right-thinking books should be priced. But then the other periodical was the TLS. And this had one particular thing that really got to me. Nothing really incendiary in the letters page or in the NB column, but another thing that I look for in this issue, there was very little in here that I was particularly interested in. The issue was mostly untranslated work in review, which is fairly rarefied. I'm hoping that this is some sort of special issue. But one book that was reviewed here is something that I very much want. It's by Malin Newitt. It comes out from Hearst in the UK. I don't know if it will get an American publisher, and it's called The Zambezi. It's about the mighty, mighty Zambezi, the Zambezi River. It's a big, sprawling natural history of the river and also history of the countries that it flows through. And I really want to read that. I've spent a lot of time in and around the Zambezi. And then the other thing that got a glowing review, enough to make me want to read it. Apparently, Grayswood Press is reprinting Veranilda, which is a final, unfinished novel by George Gissing, who we saw on this channel just the other day as the author of The Odd Women. Veranilda is historical fiction, and the reviewer here does a great job. The reviewer is James Cork Webster, who starts out by pointing out something about Gissing that you would have to read a biography of his to really know. He's known for The Odd Women and New Grub Street. But, as the reviewer points out, this is the last long-ignored work by the 19th century novelist George Gissing. Famous for his realist novels of the Victorian lower middle class, Gissing was a closet classicist and nursed a lifelong desire to write historical fiction. At intervals throughout his life, he immersed himself in classical language, writing, and topography, often spending the money and leisure won by his other projects on long Italian sojourns. And at one point, the reviewer is talking about this particular edition, which sounds terrific. I wish this will never get printed in America. I wish that I could read this. I read Veranilda a long time ago, but in apparently uh, a hacked up version. According to this review, uh, this is the first edition based on Gissing's original manuscript, and the reviewer says that's an important reversion since the editor of this volume identifies more than 2,000 changes in the first published edition. So that's significant. That's a lot. But the reviewer goes on to say, Veronilda met a large negative response from contemporary reviewers and later academics, but as the editor aligns himself with the warmer, though scarce, sentiments of readers since the 1980s, he is spot on. Veronilda is wonderful. I love that. I love it when that happens in a review. That means the reviewer read all of the introductory stuff, all the editorial superstructure of this particular edition of the book, but then read the book, having never read it before, and fell under its spell and really liked it. That is really convincing. That's more convincing than pointing out to me that this is the only unexpurgated version of the book that exists. But unless I buy it, on Amazon UK or Blackwell's or whatever, I don't think I'm ever going to see it in America. But those were the two periodicals. Life advice of the crappy kind, making me really want to sit down once Gilroy Rentboy is done. Make me sit down and write a life advice book. If any anteater on the savannah can write a life advice book, then why can't I? But then we've got the packages. So we've got one envelope and one box. I think we can probably stay out of trouble long enough to get through these. Let's see what we have and hope for something really interesting. Hope for a Steve book that's really interesting. What is this? Oh my. Is this going to be a paperback original? This is certainly nice. Yeah, this is going to be an $18 paperback original. Oh, okay. And when? Early May. Okay, this is rather lovely. It's just one step up from a mass market paperback in size. This is a novel. This is by Frank Bill, and it's called Back to the Dirt. It's got one of these textured designs, and this is the finished copy. This is what you would get if you ordered it, and this is going to be $18. And this is the author of Crimes in Southern Indiana, and also Donnybrook and the Savage. Let's see here. A self-described working-class writer. Over the past decade, Frank Bill has put some of his home turf of Southern Indiana on the literary map with a series of crime stories for which both brass knuckles and a neck brace are strongly recommended. But during that time, he's also been wrestling with one particular story, a book that, while written in his signature no-holds-barred style, hits closer to home than any of his previous work. Drawing on his own experience of factory work and his father's memories of service in Vietnam, Bill brings us Lance Corporal Miles Knox, the aging Marine Corps veteran at the heart of this novel. 3 decades after his return from Da Nang, Miles is just trying to hold down his factory job and keep the PTSD that's haunted him for a decade in check. But when his oxycodone-dealing neighbors are murdered and his girlfriend disappears, he embarks on, quote, a grim quest to flush the killer from Indiana's backwoods, hitting dealers, haunts, off-the-books gambling dens, and secret growing operations, close quote. That's a quote from Booklist, summarizing the plot. And I'm assuming the secret growing operations are marijuana. As bullets fly and painful memories surge to the surface, Miles feels his grip slipping. And as the truth comes into focus, the larger forces' fault lines at the root of the crime become achingly apparent. In bare-bones, unrelenting prose, Bill makes national traumas devastatingly concrete in Miles' story, in the communities they corrode, the families they distort, and the individuals they render unrecognizable. Okay, Back to the Dirt. This comes out really soon, just a couple of weeks, so I'm going to put it on the proximate pile. Not the TBR for tonight, but the proximate pile, because that's coming up. And then we'll do the box. It's not a very big box. I don't have a lot of hopes for, a 1,000-page history of the Habsburg Empire. We might have something appropriately Steve-like in here. Oh, let's get rid of this invoice. We certainly do not need an invoice. What have we got here? Oh my. Okay. All right. This is also a paperback original, it looks like. I won't know for sure because I don't have any publishing information. But this looks like a finished copy. But anyway, this is Ethics in the Real World by Peter Singer. Uh, 90 essays on things that matter. This is called itself a fully updated and expanded edition, not a short book. What have we got here? Peter Singer is often described as the world's most influential philosopher. He wrote an unarguable book. That's not an easy thing to do. He wrote a book that you can ignore it, but you can't counter it. Animal Liberation, you can read it and decide to ignore it, but that's all you can do. You can't read it and refute it. And there are very few texts that are like that. On the Origin of Species, another example, and on the same caliber. His work helped launch the animal rights and effective altruism movements and contributed to the development of bioethics. In this book reveals that Singer is also a master at dissecting important current events in a few hundred words. In this book of brief essays, he applies his controversial way of thinking to issues like climate change, poverty, animals, abortion, euthanasia, human genetic selection, sports doping, the sale of kidneys, happiness, and the ethics of high-priced art. That sounds a lot like this is a collection of reviews and occasional prose, not essays at all. Now featuring 38 new essays, the book will challenge and possibly change your beliefs about many real-world ethical questions. And this has blurbs from The Economist, Dwight Garner, and Sam Harris. But I now want to know about the acknowledgments section more than anything else. I want to know about the acknowledgments section. Where did these things originally appear? Is what I'd like to know. Are you going to tell me here? Yes, articles appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, the New York Daily News, the Sydney Morning Herald, Free Inquiry, New Statesman, Bioethics, Nautilus, a couple of websites. Okay, so this is previously published work, all collected. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think this comes out later this summer, if I remember correctly. But this is from Princeton University Press. I'm tempted to put it on the reading docket for tonight. This is a tremendously impressive author. But I don't know. I don't know. So those are our two books. I think 2 paperback originals, and a couple of periodicals. So we got through. We got through another mail haul, last one of the week, without any trouble at all. Pretty proud. I'm pretty proud of myself. So I'm going to wrap this up before trouble ensues, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.